Hello and welcome back. My name is Shasta Roberts, and this is my book club where we read a chapter of my book, Stronger Than Your Excuses, every single week. This week we are getting into part 2 of the book. So the first part of the book is 15 excuses of why I kept telling myself I had to stay in my marriage. Part 2 is the reasons why those excuses are not valid and why I decided to leave. So I am so excited to start that section today. We're going to start off with the introduction to part 2, which is reasons I deserve more. All right, let's go. At some point in your life, excuses become so loud that you either crumble or take a stand. They become so strong, they will knock you down daily. You will have only 2 choices. Succumb to their negativity because no matter the excuse you have, there is no such thing as a positive excuse. It's an oxymoron. An excuse is defending, justifying, or lessening the blame, and their negativity can be a heavy burden to bear. That leaves you with your second choice. Stand up to your excuses. Don't let them hold any weight in your life. After living the past 10 years with my excuses being a burden, I finally figured out how to stand up to them. You cannot have a fulfilled life with excuses hanging over you. They're always in the background and will always rise back up. When you try to shove them back down, something will happen that will bring them back into the light. It is hard to see this when it is happening. It took me years to see how many excuses I used in my life. No one knew these excuses. They were all in my head. Every time my husband and I had an argument, every time someone else made me laugh, every time I received more attention from a stranger than my own husband, I would realize how unhappy I actually was. It's not that I ever cheated, but there just have been times when I was happier around other people than with my own husband. These times, my excuses would pop back up telling me why I had to stay married. However, I didn't know these were excuses. Back then, I thought they were reasons. Reasons I needed to stay married. To be truthful, I thought all my reasons were pretty damn good reasons to stay. But in the end, my reasons to stay never made me happier. That's why they were really excuses. I've had to talk myself into staying married, at first on a couple-month basis, then on a monthly basis, all the way to the worst when it was daily. I can recite these excuses like they were rehearsed. They were so ingrained in my head, I wanted to believe them. My mind was all ready to believe everything. My heart, on the other hand, is what kept pulling me back. I gave into these excuses so many times I cannot count, until it became too much to bear. I would be too weighed down from the facade that was my life. My heart would torment me. It was like little whispers in the wind telling me all the reasons why the excuse was wrong. I would still push the feelings down and bury them each time. I know it took a toll on my marriage and wasn't easy for my husband either. Although he didn't know the full extent of what was going on in my head. He would think we were doing good most days, even most weeks. It was only because I made myself small and made my feelings small too. It would just take one incident. It might have been small or even big, but just one situation would come up and I would blow a gasket. It is not like there wasn't a reason for it. There was. But he wasn't the only problem. I was the problem too. As much as I tried to talk about how unhappy I was, I didn't have the tools or the knowledge of how to reach out for help and express my hurt without getting over dramatic. For 10 years of marriage, I did not know the man I was married to. Yes, that seems a little overdramatic there, but it's true. Our get to know you conversations were me stating my side and him always playing the devil's advocate, as he would call it. For 10 years, I truthfully thought he had opposite views on everything in life than what I had. This led to a lot of not talking and me avoiding talking because I didn't want to talk to the devil's advocate. I wanted to talk to someone and hear their real opinions and hopefully once in a while agree on some of the same things. This, among many other things, kept us at an arm's length away from each other. We lived as roommates who weren't even friends, but slept together. Our lives would never overlap. What was going on in my life was not the same things going on in his life. He was rarely home. If he wasn't working, he went fishing. If he wasn't fishing, he wanted to relax on the couch all day, where I wanted to get out and explore the world together. Even when I made more money and worked full time, I was responsible for all of our children's needs. When I became a stay-at-home mom, nothing changed. I still was responsible for everything. That included kids' bills, cooking, cleaning, planning, you name it. It was my responsibility. By our second child, I might as well have been a single parent. But by child number 3, I was a single parent. He would show up for occasions to show friends and family how great of a husband he was. But on a day-to-day basis, we barely saw him. By the time I made up my mind to leave, I didn't recognize the man I married. I never thought of the reasons why I should leave. There were too many reasons to stay. My excuses were valid. The few reasons to leave didn't have any weight against all the reasons to stay. When you write out the pro and con list, you think you're good when you have more things on one side or another. Do you ever stop to think about each item? How important is each item? Some items are of very small importance, where others could be the only one on the list and would hold all the weight because they're extremely important. We have been taught to look at the numbers. It doesn't matter what your list says. The numbers are all that matters. This is what has been ingrained into everyone. This isn't correct, though. The number of items on the list has nothing to do with making the right decisions. You cannot live a life full of excuses forever. Not if you want to live a fulfilled life. At some point, you must stand yourself up and dust off all the excuses. Find real reasons instead of excuses, no matter the situation. You are the only one that can do it. It is your life, and you must get up and make something of it. It doesn't matter how many bullet points are on your list. If there's only one reason that is big enough for you to make a change, then make a change. After living 10 years letting the excuses control me, I chose to finally take the only other path against excuses. I had to control them. I've lived long enough carrying these around. The weight has taken a toll on me. No one can help me bear them. Although initially and for many years, I intended on continually bearing them. I never intended on coming to a path in the road where I could not live with them anymore. That is what happened, though. I planned on being tied to these excuses till the end of time. I even thought about what I would tell my children and grandchildren. Marriage is rough, but remember the reasons why you shouldn't leave, and it will give you peace. I even projected some of my excuses onto my sister-in-law when she told me she was leaving my brother. I had told her to remember the reasons why leaving was a bad idea. Is this what I really want to portray? Is what I'm thinking and saying how I truly feel? Not anymore. It is not. When I went to find myself and to love myself more, I was able to do just that. I lost weight. I read self-development. I learned new things. My only thought process was to become a whole person. I thought maybe if I'm whole, I can then find a way to save my marriage. Setting myself up for self-worth changed my life completely. When you have self-worth, you are unstoppable. No one tells you this. It is incredible. All these motivational speakers, you know how they do it? They have self-love. That is why they can project it onto other people. Excuses are no longer a thing in my life. I don't make excuses. I make reasons. I set out to stop making excuses for why I didn't love myself. I wanted to have reasons to love myself. Reasons are the opposite of an excuse. Reasons are positive, honest explanations. When you stop caring about how others will react, you start to be more truthful. When you can honestly look at someone and say how you feel and not be worried about what they will think, you hold your power. When you get dressed in the morning and look in the mirror and thank your body because you actually love the way you look, it is motivating. When you use a reason, you are empowering your mind to think. You process logic. Excuses are not logical. It was unreasonable for me to think I could live the rest of my life tied to my marriage excuses. When I started reasoning with everything in my life, I found that reasons have more weight than excuses. I started to see that fixing and changing myself was going to change my whole outlook on life. I see things in a whole new light now. It doesn't matter that I have a long list of excuses and what seems like a small list of reasons. Each reason I must leave this marriage knocks out several of the excuses. When I started looking inward, I found reasons that could crush my excuses. I found a way to overpower the excuses and stand strong against them. It doesn't mean I'm not going to be knocked down. Let's face it, this is going to be a rough fight. But I only need one reason to stand back up. This has been the hardest decision I have had to come to in my entire life. It wasn't easy. It wasn't completely fast either. Marriage is not something you just abandon and throw overboard when times get rough. I hope everyone tries their hardest to mend their marriage before deciding it is time to leave it. I wish I wasn't at this point. I wish I could see a way to save my marriage, but if I don't have a reason to stay, then I cannot stay. I've looked for a reason to stay. Remember, reasons have more weight. If I could come up with the reasons to stay, to stand up against my reasons to leave, then I would stay. The problem is, I cannot find one actual reason to stay. I have a list of excuses why I should, but actually good ground for staying, I cannot find one. If this is how marriage is going to be for the rest of my life, I want no part in it. I am finally a whole person and I love myself now. I don't need to find another person to help fill my cup. I have enough all for myself. I even have enough to spill over and share. Sharing your love with your family and friends is more filling than you know. Sharing your love with no love in return with your spouse is life-sucking. It's like instead of tipping over your vase to add water to their vase, They stick a straw in your water and suck it right out. This is not how marriage should be. The best marriages are two complete, whole people living, learning, and building a life together. A marriage is a place where you are replenished and comforted, where your deepest, darkest secrets are kept, and you are loved for them, not in spite of them. The gains you receive from being your best friend, the person you love every day, can be magical. I want some of this magic. What is life without some sparkle? Marriages are not supposed to be perfect every day, all day. There will always be tough times. At the end of the day, though, you should want that person. You should know that the life you have together is greater than the life you could have apart. Time apart should weigh on you. When you know you can make a greater life by yourself, then there is a problem. When you know your own marriage is holding you back from fully living life, that is not right. That is not what marriage is supposed to be. Even including the bad days, the weight shouldn't be so heavy to bear. Marriage isn't supposed to be a burden. If it is, you are doing it wrong, and I was in a big way. I've known this for years and didn't want to admit it. I have known I am stronger than I think I am. I want to find someone to build a life together with where my reason to stay married is because I love them and couldn't imagine life without them. That person is not the person I'm married to now. It took me 10 years to see this. The person I am today doesn't fit with the person I am married to. I have changed. I see the reasons they are finally pulling me with them, and I want to go. I want to be free. My reasons lift me up and make my heart soar. It doesn't matter if there's only a handful, they are good ones, and all I needed to make a change. All right, there is the introduction to part 2, the reasons I deserve more. I'm so excited to get into those 6 reasons with you in the next 6 weeks. So make sure that you subscribe to the channel so that you can get the notifications when I post a new chapter. If you hit that notification bell, it'll actually notify you that I posted a new chapter instead of just putting it on your feed that I posted a new chapter. Please leave me a thumbs up and also comment on this chapter. I would really love to hear what you guys think. Can't wait to see you next week for another chapter of my book club, Stronger Than Your Excuses. Bye, I'll see you next week.